So here at Macaloney's Island Distillery, we're doing traditional milling as done back in Scotland and also back in Ireland. There are two different milling methods. Milling's critically important to get the right ratio of husks to grits, which is lumps of starch, and flour for the best extraction of the sugars and the starch and the enzymes. So this here is a traditional 4-roller mill. It's used in most distilleries, single malt distilleries around the world, back in Scotland, and with most Canadian brewers. There's 2 sets of rollers, 2 sets of rollers. These grind the barley into that mix of grits and flour and husks. What doesn't get broken down by the first roller, the second set of rollers capture that. So that's your traditional 4-roller mill, if you will, used for single malt whisky and for beer brewing. This is a sample of the grits and it's what's been milled. And what you can see there is lots of husks and lumps of starch as well as the flour, right? You can see the flours everywhere in here. And what we're aiming for is 70% grits, 20% husks, and 10% flour. Okay, that's the optimal extraction ratio. And the way that we gauge that, before we set the roller mill, we will set the roller mill using this sieve, and we will test the grits in this sieve. There's a wide sieve there that captures the husks. This captures the grits, or the lumps of starch. And then the bottom one, you'll get the flour. And we measure those ratios to make sure that we've got the correct optimal mix, if you will. So that's your single malt process or your beer process. This unit here we use for the Irish. And this is called a hammer mill, the Irish style whisky, or the pot still whisky is the correct generic term. And with this hammer mill, we need a hammer mill because raw barley used in pot still whisky or Irish style whisky doesn't mill very well in a roller mill, and we have to use a hammer mill. It has a sieve inside here and a hammer that rotates at high speed, and that hammer obliterates, breaks down the barley basically into flour, right? So it's a very aggressive milling system traditionally used back in Ireland, and you must use it for the raw barley. And so that's how we do the pot still milling, and this is how we do the single malt milling. Both traditional methods practiced here at Macaloney's Island Distillery.